Radhe Radhe, a spiritual good morning to one and all in our Bhagavad Gita study session for chapter 6, this recap video covering the two verses that Mummy and I presented today on chapter 6, verses 20 and 21.
Radhe Radhe.
Sharing the screen, we'll take a look at the cover slide here. Again, chapter 6, verses 20 and 21, starting off, as always, with a set of questions in our quiz, and then Chapter 6, verse 20, still water. That's the catchphrase as a question to ponder about. We'll have the recitation and brief explanation.
Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati.
So yeah, still water here. We see through the commentary by Swamiji, we first have the translation that when the mind is restrained from material activities and it is still, it is steady by the practice of yoga, then such practitioners, such yogis can actually behold the soul because they have a purified mind. And the final consequence of that is that they can rejoice in the inner joy. So really talking about self-realization here through the process of meditation, which we mentioned is, of course, the entire theme of chapter 6, JKYog, the yoga of meditation. So here we're trying to really see now that Swamiji presents an analogy that just like if you have water that is a little muddy or impure or not ready for drinking, you put a mineral salt called alum in it, and it cleanses, purifies the water. Analogous to that is our mind and our spiritual practices. If we meditate, then that meditation plays the role of alum to help clean and purify our minds. And with that steady practice, we become still, of course, and then we're also able to behold the soul, which otherwise the material senses drawn to this Maya-based world just get attracted to desires and think that it is really just the gross body, the mind, and the intellect. Here we do see that with that practice of meditation, we're able to make that distinction that we have the self, that is the soul, which is distinct from the body, the mind, and the intellect. Of course, we also mentioned that God realization, as a reminder to everyone, happens only, of course, by and through the grace of God. We'll next look at chapter 6, verse 21.
Verse 21, boundless bliss. Sukham atyantikam yatad buddhi grahya matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tattvataha.
So chapter 6, verse 21. So here it is boundless bliss, coming from the translation that Sri Krishna has here, that when you have that joyous state of yoga, what is the result of all the endeavors? Well, you have a state or a situation of samadhi, and then you get to experience supreme, boundless, divine bliss. And also from there is never any deviation. No deviation from the eternal truth, no deviation from that steadiness and the samadhi that one has attained. The commentary here essentially by Swamiji focuses on reminders that we have from chapter 2, chapter 5 about bliss and how we as tiny souls, tiny fragments of God, tiny fragments of the Supreme Soul are always seeking happiness, but we float around seeking happiness in the material world. In some cases, we do not recognize, sometimes we do recognize that it is actually this yearning and longing for God that is what we are seeking. So God is an ocean of bliss. God himself is bliss. There are so many different quotations here from Vedic scriptures that Swamiji provides. And also he has mentioned that a lot of them were provided in chapter 5, verse 21. We also showed some from chapter 2, verse 15. So much earlier in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything amounting to the same essence. God is an ocean of bliss. We are drawn to God just as objects fall down to earth because of gravity, or a child longs for his or her mother. All of that attraction and longing for us as souls is to God, that divine ocean of infinite bliss. The next part of the commentary talks about this shloka from Patanjali Yoga Darshan or Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So this one really is Samadhi Siddhir Pranidhanat. We talked about, again, helping everybody recall Ishvara Pranidhanat, connecting it to chapter 3, verse 30, meditating on Sri Krishna as the Supreme. So in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra as well, this concept is given, meditating upon God as the Supreme, Ishvara Pranidhanat. So here again, you get that state of samadhi, and that is that complete situation of steadiness and the attainment of bliss. So with that, one is firmly situated in the absolute truth, tatvataha. And then, as we mentioned in the translation, there is no deviating from that even for a moment. Mami, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Gagan. And from these two verses, I have chosen two words from Sanskrit. One very important word is niruddham. Niruddham means restrained. So it is when we are able to control our mind from running here, there for material activities. When we have restrained it, that is when we can be steady in yoga and we can connect with God. And the other word I want you to look at is that is Atindriyam. Atindriyam from verse number 21. That means transcending the senses. Again, a similar meaning. That means you are controlling all these senses from running here, there for material desires. And now, in that state, that is when you are in samadhi, in meditation. It is such a joyous state whereby you are able to control all your senses. You are beyond your senses. That is when you really understand what your individual soul is. And it is a fragment of the Supreme Soul, that Paramatma, Supreme Soul. And it is always wanting to get in touch with that Supreme Soul. So what happens as individual souls, it is our intrinsic nature that we are looking for happiness. And we have understood now by these material activities, we don't get that eternal happiness because we are always wanting more and more and more, and we are never satisfied, never happy. So where does that eternal bliss lies? That lies in God. And through yoga and meditation, that is when we can have true connection with God, and we experience that state of samadhi when we are totally connected with God and we are in eternal bliss. And then we are not looking for anything else. We are in totally inner joy. We are really experiencing that inner joy because we have full faith and we have surrendered to God, and we are now totally satisfied and contented, and we are in a sthit prajna situation. We are firmly situated in that absolute truth that God is the eternal bliss. God is the ocean of bliss, and that is what we can experience in meditation at the stage of samadhi. I hope that helps to understand.
Yes, and also then in class to help practice and implement this, we also had a meditation. So we'll send that link out also with the slides that everyone gets. That is a meditation coming up for this Diwali festive season, meditation on Govardhan Puja. So again, we encourage everybody to practice that again. And just a reminder, any other comments, Mummy?
So today is Dhanteras. We wish all our participants a happy Dhanteras and the next 4-5 days of Diwali celebrations. Loads of celebrations going on in Radha Krishna temple. Yesterday was Gopa Dwadashi. We started with Vishnu Sahasranamam. Today we are going to have Ram Leela and we'll have Lakshmi Puja for Dhanteras. Tomorrow we are going to pray to Lord Hanuman with many times of Hanuman Chalisa, and Monday on Diwali day again we'll do Lakshmi Puja, and then Tuesday it's Govardhan Puja. So Diwali is connected with both Lord Ram and Sri Krishna. That's what we talked about in the session, and hope many of you can join us with these celebrations through the live portal. And we wish you all a very happy Diwali, happy celebrations. And just to let you know that next week on 29th October, we have to take an off. So we will not be having this class on 29th October. We will see you back on 5th of November. Right, Gagan?
Yes, we shall meet after 2 weeks on Saturday, 5th November 2022. Till then, of course, happy Diwali to one and all. Happy Dhanteras today and all the other associated events, as Mummy mentioned. Best wishes for a very, very prosperous Diwali season and spiritually absolutely prosperous. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.